Call the council to order for tonight's meeting. We have a quorum present. Tonight will be led in the invocation by Pastor Jennifer Swear from the Wildflower Presbyterian Church here in Sioux Falls. After the invocation, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise.
Almighty God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather tonight, and we thank you for those whom have been chosen to lead your people. You are the ruler of all peoples of the earth, and you've given us this good land as our heritage. We ask that you would make us always to remember your generosity and to constantly seek your will in all that we do. Grant the council members here tonight the gift of your wisdom, that gift of patience that seeks justice for all your people. Help us to not be selective or to be gatekeepers, but to be bearers of your gracious heart that lavishes blessing on all people. Bless those who hold office, that they may choose to do your work as servants of your Spirit in wisdom and kindness. Help them use their authority to serve faithfully and to promote the general welfare. Through your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we begin tonight, I just want to recognize we have Denise Tucker and her mother's here, Andrea Tucker from Hampton, Virginia, and we'd just like to recognize you, Mrs. Tucker. And we just want to welcome you, Mrs. Tucker, and thank you for coming out here. I know it's been a busy couple of days, and so we're glad to have you. And we really appreciate all your daughter does out here. She's been a great asset for us, so we want to thank you for sharing her with us. Thank you very much. Glad to have you again. Is there any discussion or is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move. Knutson.
Knutson, is there a second?
Second, Jamison.
Jamison seconded. Further discussion? See no further discussion. All in favor of approving the regular agenda, or the consent agenda will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Council members Benega?
Yes.
Brown? Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Kavanaugh? Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
Consent agenda has been approved. Is there any additions or deletions or a motion to approve the regular agenda?
Motion to approve, Benninga.
Benninga moved. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Further comments? I see no further comments. All in favor of the motion to approve the regular agenda will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Council members Benega?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All members present have voted. The regular agenda has been approved. Now is the time that we set aside 5 minutes. Anyone who wishes to address the council for 5 minutes, give your name and address and address the council, please come forward.
Good evening. Tessa Lovero, 1211 South Norton Avenue, Sioux Falls. I'm not here to complain tonight. I just want to set that straight. There was some things that I wanted to talk about and never really had the opportunity. So the opportunity presented itself when I received a notice in the mail that there's going to be a neighborhood watch meeting in our neighborhood. And I think Kermit and Vernon were going to be attending that. And one of the reasons that our neighborhood has deteriorated to some point was due to the flooding several years ago. And I wanted to address some of the problems or be resourceful maybe to some of the council members that might be working on these committees so that they can understand some of the problems that the homeowners are also trying to address. First, there's two things I wanted to say. The first thing being that instead of being more reactionary, I'd like it to be more preventative. And then when the flood happened, there were several things that really did not work. I applied for the disaster loan through the city, and I had a credit score of 725. I did not qualify for the disaster loan. And being of one of the people who had the most damage from that flood, I felt it was a huge roadblock for me to not be able to qualify that. And I have the denial and I applied through 3 of the banks. I think there was 4 listed. And they all said the same thing. And that was I did not have equity in my home. And I feel that I understand that, and maybe another alternative could have been to provide some sort of grant, because we want to be preventative and not have these neighborhoods deteriorate, having grants, even maybe appropriating something to a neighborhood revitalization program in the event that something like this would occur again, where people don't have insurance, that sort of thing would be better than letting these neighborhoods suffer to the point where we come in and say, okay, now everybody try to clean up. And especially it's frustrating in my neighborhood because everybody's tapped out. They cannot afford to do any more of these things. I have several letters I have several outstanding building permits, and I can't afford to do anything more than I've already done. I can assure that my house is safe. I can not do some of the things that they're asking me to do. And I brought a picture just to show you one of my frustrations, if I could find it, but I doubt that now. Okay, here it is. If you could just pass it around. Yeah. Well, the first picture shows that the clearance going down into I can't retrofit some of the things that they want me to do. And one shows the steps going downstairs. It's off by 2 inches. And I could have made it steeper. However, I felt that it wasn't unsafe for me and my children to do that. So I went ahead and built it, and I felt that if they wanted to take my property because of that, then I was going to allow. I wasn't trying to be stubborn. I was just trying to be safe in my own way. The second picture shows my front stairway, and that also is a code violation. You can see that it's not falling apart. It's not a trip hazard, but it also is a code violation because several inches, because of the concrete settling, the inches for the first step are off as well as the top stair. Those are some of the frustrations that our neighbors are having to deal with. And so these building inspectors are coming through and they are not passing our inspections because of that. I just couldn't afford. I put the same stairs back on that were on there pre-flood. They weren't built afterwards. They were pre-flood. I took them off, put them back on. And so I feel like if we're going to go into these neighborhoods and ask them to clean up, that maybe we might have some leniency now so that they can move on and not have to give up their homes. Because what's happening in my neighborhood is there's, in a 1-block span, everybody was a single-dwelling homeowner. Now there's 4 vacancies. They've had to sell off their property at a discounted rate because of the flood and because they can't pass these code violations. Rental people are buying these properties and renting them out, and now we're having problems. So if we could get these issues cleared up, some people could regain some value in their home. And I just feel like now would be a great time for some of those policy changes. Again, and like I mentioned, what other things is that I would like it to next time be more preventative, and I would be happy to sit on some committee and be able to say these were some of the problems that, such as having outside assistance, FEMA. I also have become very involved with the Red Cross, went down to Katrina, and I know what FEMA is able to do. And I was very disappointed, and the more I learned, that it wasn't involved. And I feel like you guys were misrepresented, or the information to you was misrepresented, because nobody came out to my property to see if it was destroyed or not. I've been down, I know what FEMA does, and I know that my property was destroyed. If it's unlivable, it doesn't matter how unlivable it is. And everyone in my area is also, their homes are the same way. So in the end, I just want to say that I hope that if we do these areas that we're trying to clean up, which I would love to do, I don't want to live in area 10 where these are problems, that we also take into consideration the homeowners and try to work with them so that it's not being more a problem for them to meet these standards. So, thank you. Thank you.
Tessa, why don't you get a hold of our league, Eric Caldwell, and see if he can help you out. Would you do that? Would you just, and he can talk to you about that. Others that wish to address the council for a period of 5 minutes.
Hi, Tim Cant, 209 North Duluth, and I am here to complain tonight. I'm just wondering, I guess, why the north end and the older neighborhoods of Sioux Falls are being neglected so bad. Just in the last week alone, I've had to kick one drunk out of my hedges. Yesterday afternoon at 2:30 in the afternoon, mowing, I had somebody drunk trying to beg off of me. 3 nights ago, I had to pick up all kinds of empty beer bottles and stuff in my alley. You know, I had a garbage man the other day. Here's a different subject. Had a garbage man the other day knock on my door at 7 o'clock in the morning and wanted me to move my car because he couldn't get his big garbage truck through the alley. We've had this discussion with you guys for years up there in the north end. Those big garbage trucks don't belong in the alleys. And I know you guys have went through this with the garbage services and whatnot. So I had to go out at 7 o'clock in the morning and move my truck forward just a little bit because the alleys are too narrow for those big garbage trucks that go through there. This happened to be waste management that day. But, you know, that's something that we need to be taken care of. But I also, you know, just earlier tonight I reported a car that's been sitting on Phillips Avenue, or on Prairie Avenue for the last 3 weeks. It's been in the exact same spot. That was reported. We've got a trailer now that has moved into the neighborhood and is parked at the corner of 9th and Duluth, and there's people living in it. This has been there for about 10 days, and I also reported that tonight. But these are things that happen in the north end, and I guess what I'm confused on with those two things especially is that, you know, we have the police department that drives by there all the time. They have to have seen this trailer parked there. They had to have seen this same car. A car has not moved in 3 weeks on Prairie Avenue. I mean, this is just, you know, little trivial things that have to be watched for. You know, I took a drive through the alley between Spring Avenue and Minnesota Avenue. The alley actually can't be driven through hardly because the trees are so overgrown there. Something has to be done. You know, all we talk about is these newer neighborhoods of town, and I'm getting tired of it. I really am. And now that we got this whole problem with 11th Street, you know, the highest crime rate in Sioux Falls now is within a block and a half of my house. You know, it's starting to touch home, and it's making me nervous. You know, and the one subject that really bothers me is about a month ago when they had that article in the paper that the property owners or the business owners are afraid to say anything because the people will retaliate. I mean, this was right in the Argus Leader. I mean, this is insane. Where are we living at today? You know? And I talked to a guy the other day that said every piece of property, some guy wanted to buy every single rental property on 11th Street from Grange Avenue to Minnesota. It was a little over $1 million is all it was going to be. And I mean, for $1 million, that's not bad to buy that whole neighborhood up because those houses, and I know the city's doing stuff right now, and I know they've condemned a couple of them, and I know that stuff, but boy, you just have to drive through there some night, and I know you probably have, but it's just a mess now. I mean, people are sitting outside all night long. Doors are wide open. I talked to a gentleman that delivered some furniture to one of those houses the other day because he works for the furniture mission. He said he was afraid he was going to fall through the floor. I didn't get the address of the house. He couldn't remember what it was, but he was, I mean, this is, you know, ridiculous. I know we have the inspection guy, but you know, rather than people calling all the time, I think we have to go out to these houses and look through them because it's, you know, it's getting bad in that neighborhood. And these are just things that have happened in the last, you know, 2 or 3 weeks. And I live at 8th and Duluth, so I just want everybody to be aware of it and that it is, it's getting out of hand up there.
Well, I appreciate you. We're in looking. We'll be moving over in your area here now to move that forward. So I appreciate it. Other wish to address the council on public input for a period of 5 minutes. Others? Not. Let's move into the regular agenda. Item 10.
Lori Bossman with the City Finance Office representing items 10 through 15. Item 10 is a new retail malt beverage license for Nick Call from World Imports. Item 11 is a new retail malt beverage for Mike Walls, and this also includes video lottery terminals and would be pending final inspections. Item 12 is a new packaged malt beverage license for Come and Go. Items 13 and 14 are both transfers. Item 13 is transfer of a 2006 retail liquor license, and 14 is transfer of a packaged liquor license. And then item 15 is a special one-day liquor license at Great Bear. And I can answer questions on items 10 through 15.
Any questions on those? Not. Is there council discussion or action to approve items 10 through 15?
I move for approval. Knutson.
Knutson, is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconds. Further comments? Being no further comments, all in favor of approving items 10 through 15 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no.
Councilmembers Benega?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 2 excused. Items 10 through 15 have been approved. Item 16.
Item 16 is deferred action ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending the schedule of rates to be charged by the city light and power department for furnishing electric current for light and power purposes.
Good evening. Kevin Smith with the Office of Public Works. With me tonight is Blair Metzger from DeWitt Grant Record Engineering, the firm that completed not only our master plan for the light division, but also this rate study. As we discussed 2 weeks ago, it's been 12 years since the light division has had a rate increase. Over that time, up to and including today, we've seen increases in our supplemental power costs as well as our firm power costs from the Western Area Power Administration, and of about a $5 million operating budget, 60% of our costs go right into what we pay for supplemental power. The rest of it is operation and maintenance of our facilities, including taking care of street lights. One thing I would like to note is that under the proposed rate increase, the average, or I'd say typical residential customer would see about a $5.87 per month increase. It is our plan, as was mentioned 2 weeks ago, to come back on an annual basis and review our rates with you, review the financial status on a much more regular basis, not just annually, about the light fund as well as all of the utility funds in public works. And of all the funds we've looked at, and you'll be seeing wastewater sometime this fall or late this summer. Of the 4 utilities that we've looked at, I think personally the most challenging to go through has been the light fund, because we do have a very small defined service territory of about 2 square miles in the city of Sioux Falls, and those customers are captive, so to speak. The boundaries were established by the Public Utilities Commission, and I think we do have a responsibility to those customers to maintain rates that are fair and equitable. And you've heard us talk with the other funds about the cost of service, basing our rates on the cost of service. We want to cover our operating costs and our future capital costs. So with water, we had to take into account what we're going to commit to the Lewis and Clark Rural Water System. With the wastewater, it's going to be East Side Sanitary Sewer Project costs. With the landfill, it's new cell expansion and things. And with the light fund, it's going to be covering the purchase power costs that we're going to be facing. And when we do that, we want to make sure that we're not going to go too far one way or another. Now, certainly we don't want to wait 12 years again before we look at what our rates are. But on the other hand, we don't want to have too large of increases so that we are ending up with arbitrary rate setting. I know there's been some comment about, well, why don't we raise it to the same level as another energy company in the city of Sioux Falls who does business here? Well, that would be, on one hand, very easy to do. On another hand, it'd be very difficult because they have other costs that we don't. Massive corporate offices, power supply costs, including power plant replacement, that we don't have. So I wouldn't be in favor of saying, well, let's just set it at the level everybody else is. I think we should just look at what our cost of service is. That's why we go through these exhaustive rate studies, because you could logically use the same approach with our water fund, that we are the only water provider in the city of Sioux Falls, and therefore we could just choose to set rates however we felt. But we've taken the approach that we're trying to cover our costs so that when our customers see these rate adjustments, they know we're just trying to get back what it is that we have to pay for. In the case of lights, that's primarily supplemental power from the Western Area Power Administration and a private private utility. When other utilities that are governed by the PUC, Public Utilities Commission, however, we're not, when they propose rate increases, they have to go through the same process we have done. They have to justify, based on their cost of service, what the rates should be. And I think that's another reason to support the rate adjustment that we have recommended, or that Blair and his firm have worked towards.
Yes, Kevin, can you respond to a concern I have? My concern is that during the past 12 years, from what we've been told, it seems like that some of the enterprise funds have been going and doing other things that maybe the money should not have been used for. And so now, if we hadn't have done that, we might not have had to have a increase in the light rates. Could you respond to that concern?
As far as I know, in the 12 years that the utilities have been within Public Works, all of the utility funds have gone towards projects in that fund, i.e., wastewater rates go to pay for wastewater improvements. Landfill rates go to pay for landfill improvements. Same with water and lights. I don't know that in years before that, and this was before my time with the department, I understand that there were times when the light fund did subsidize transit, or that water subsidized something else. I can't say that within Public Works' time since 10 years ago that was the case, but I understand it was a little different situation. I don't believe also, I guess that being said, I don't believe that has any bearing on where we're at today with lights or with any of the other enterprise funds, because there was a period of time when they were very, very financially solvent. But I think what I've learned, at least over the last several years or last year intensively, is that you have to look at these things on an annual basis, because there are things like fuel adjustments or fuel prices and asphalt prices that affect our operating budgets, as well as supplemental power changes. The Western Area Power Administration isn't producing as much power, and the power they're producing right now is more expensive because of the low levels in the dams. I don't think we can continue to absorb those without looking at our adjustments or our funds annually.
I guess specifically, I think we were told that in the recent past, that the light fund was used to help subsidize the electricity for the street lights and things like that outside of the territory where we operate as a municipality with electric lights. And now that's been changed, and we're not going to be doing that anymore, which I totally agree. But I guess that's those kind of things that I was concerned about, that we've been doing in the past and we should not be doing again.
Well, the way we have it structured now is that new installation of streetlights is paid for by sales tax, and the light fund, the employees there are maintaining the streetlights, but they're not paying for the energy charges. That comes out of the street department budget. And I think that is a fair trade-off for everyone. So the citizens of Sioux Falls generally do see some benefit of that Western Area Power Administration power. And I guess to take that a step further, one of the biggest customers of the light fund is the water plant. And everybody benefits from lower utilities that they pay. So Blair's firm and our department have spent a lot of time looking at these balances of where our costs are and where our revenue comes from. So we are trying to be fair with it.
Historically speaking, would you say that the WAPA has provided the city with lower cost electricity?
Yes.
And what's the historical background, or where did this allotment, we have a certain allotment that we get, or how did this come to be? Do you know?
Yeah, we have a certain amount of power that we are eligible for, and as our load increases, as we have additional customers, then we buy supplemental power. But I will say that if you have, if we were to shed that load, if we were to say, well, let's shed all of the non-city or non-governmental load, what we also have is some cases where there's a large dairy operation, let's say on Russell Street, that is hooked onto the same distribution line or connected to the same distribution line as a convention center, for example. So those are very good customers for us to have. We would always serve the convention center, but if we have large commercial customers along the way that are on the same transmission line, shedding those probably aren't going to reduce our expenses because we still have the distribution lines, we still have that distribution system in place.
I guess what I'm getting at is that it seems that there's a very small number of businesses and people and government bodies that benefit from this inexpensive WAPA power that truly seems to be the right of all the citizens of Sioux Falls. And while you've mentioned that there is some cost sharing through the power for the paying for the power for the light poles or what have you, that if we were to go to an Excel rate schedule and just mirror that in their increases, we would have an even playing field across the city of Sioux Falls. And if the light department generated a profit, that profit could go towards paying the electricity for the lights throughout the city, for paying for the maintenance of the poles, and other things that if there was an excess, it could go into the general fund. But it would be a level playing field across the city as far as the cost of power, and we would avoid having to do future studies down the road. And furthermore, if you said that the rates that Excel charges has to go through the PUC and they have to show reasonable costs, doesn't that further bolster the argument that a level playing field would be fair for everyone?
Well, when the PUC established the boundaries, they gave the city of Sioux Falls Light and Power Department about 2 square miles of service territory, not the 65 square miles that we have right now. And how those boundaries were initially drawn, Pat, I don't know.
And it's really irrelevant, and it doesn't matter, 2, 3, 4, 5 square miles. The fact is that there's a very small group of businesses, residentials, and government bodies that receive cheap WAPA power that really could be argued that it's a right for the entire population of Sioux Falls.
Well, I would say that within a few years we'll be very close, if not on par with that, with their rates. But I also know that Excel is going through the Minnesota PUC with a rate case now. And I don't know how we can ever justify the monthly fuel clauses or fuel adjustments that we see or used to see when we were customers, for example, that don't show up in your rates. 1 month, I think it was last summer, we had a fuel adjustment charge of $80,000 that was not included in the quote-unquote rates, but it is a clause that we had to pay for. So, as I said earlier, to simply say, well, let's just mirror Excel, it's not that simple. I understand what you're saying, but I do believe that the citizens do see benefit because, like I said, the water purification plant is one of the biggest customers of Light and Power. The wastewater plant was until about 2 years ago, and then we found it was more equitable to have them be direct customers of Excel. So if we were to make that leap, that would probably take some time to figure out. But I think in the interest of time, where we're at financially or where we're headed if we don't do something, we'd still recommend that for this year that we go with the rates proposed, and if it's the council's direction to us to come back with another plan for, let's say, the budget year 2008, we'd certainly propose or be willing to do that.
Bob?
Kevin, in your judgment, would it be fair to characterize the residents that are in the area that we're talking about as maybe modest income?
Yeah, I think that'd be a fair statement, yes.
Thank you.
Bob Jameson?
Just for clarification, when Kermit asked the question about any other funding besides fees, I think we need to understand, if I remember correctly, if we rebuild a street and it's determined that the sewer and water underneath have to be replaced, that is funded by second penny sales tax, if I remember correctly.
And the light division, if you remember from the CIP presentations, we do have quite a bit of money into replacement and rehabilitation of our own distribution system. So I wouldn't say that the way the city did it was wrong or different. It's just that's the way that the utility funded projects and paid for power. And at the time, it worked just fine. But I think as the city continues to grow, or we've seen it grow, and we're now up to over 14,000 streetlights, and we add thousands a year, that having the sales tax fund pay for new streetlights when new streets are put in, I do think that's fair, or a more fair way to do it, certainly. Again, we just don't want to go, we don't want to do anything that could be perceived as being arbitrary when we set rates. And this one's been a challenge to do when we've looked at it.
Other questions? Not others that wish to address the council on item number 16? Not as a council discussion or action?
I move for approval of item number 16.
Knutson moves. Is there a second?
Second, Jameson.
Jameson seconds. Further discussion? Not. All in favor of the motion to approve item 16 will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Council members Benega?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
No.
All members present voted 5 yes, 1 no, and 2 excused. Item 16 has been approved. Item 17.
Item 17 is the second reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, providing supplemental appropriations for sesquicentennial celebration costs.
Erica Beck with the City Planning Department. This is a supplement to provide funding to the Planning Department budget to pay for all the costs of the sesquicentennial celebration in the amount of $16,645. This funding came specifically from donations and revenue. These expenses occurred over the time period of June 30th through July 4th. Any questions?
Questions? Others that wish to address the council on item number 17?
Move for
Council
approval,
discussion.
Benninger.
Benninger moved. Is there a second?
I second that motion. Knutson.
Knutson seconded it. Further discussion? See no further discussion. All in favor of the motion to approve item 17 vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Council members Benega?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 2 excused. Items 17 has been approved. Item 18.
Item 18 is a first reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising outdoor lighting regulations. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Good evening, Jeffrey Schmidt, representing planning staff. This first reading is for outdoor lighting for the City of Sioux Falls. Planning staff had heard enough concerns over time that we thought it was appropriate to come in here and amend this ordinance. What we're trying to do right now is make it more appropriate for not only the applicants but for the customers in that neighborhood for any outdoor lighting. It's basically in non-residential neighborhoods. We have now defined more clearly, I believe, what an outdoor lighting fixture is. That should be downcast below horizontal. That's really more understandable for everybody. And we've stated that the ordinances would be met at a building permit, not necessarily at a site plan, so that when they come in and they say, yes, this is what we're going to do, but then it changes 2 or 3 times as they go through the bidding or construction, actually at building permit is when the ordinances need to be met. We sent this out to the building industry and a lot of the developers in the community to receive feedback, receive phone calls, and everybody's very in support of the ordinance revisions.
Questions of Jeff? Bob?
Will
Jameson?
this clarify a shoebox?
Yes. Yes, it will.
Further questions? Let's go ahead.
Yeah, does this revision deal with anything about, actually how much light is not permitted to go off-site onto other property?
Yes,
or-
it has to be downcast so that it does not trespass across. It doesn't matter how much is on the property as long as it's not trespassing across that person's property onto somebody else's. And now, as long as we have it as a cutoff fixture, we're stating that it has to be below 90% of the fixture, that it would not trespass. And with that tilt below 90%, at some point it's going to have to come down and stop at your parameter of your property.
I guess I'm just wondering, if the ordinance talks about, you cannot have stray lighting going onto other people's property, why are we concerned about the fixtures or anything? We just simply say, hey, no stray lighting on to other property.
That's what we had previous to this, and it was very hard to work with the customers, the person that was putting the light in, as well as the adjacent property owner saying, well, I believe this is trespassing and I believe this isn't. This is easily understood by everyone that this is what a trespass is, and this is where it's going to stop on the property line.
Did you say this was non-residential or both?
Non-residential.
Other questions? Let's go to 19.
19 is the first reading rezone, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 85th Street and South Louise Avenue, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls.
As you can see, this is a small portion on the northeast corner of 85th in Minnesota. The adjacent properties have already been rezoned to commercial, and then behind that, RA1 apartments. This used to be a single-family house that was sold to this applicant. They have come in and asked to have it zoned to C4, which is compatible with the other adjacent property. The access for this tract 1 will have to be through and with the other adjacent C4 to Rambler Place along Louise and along 85th Street. The applicant did have a neighborhood meeting prior to Planning Commission, and at this point we haven't heard any more issues.
Questions? Bob Jameson.
What are the requirements for, there's residential just to the east end of this property. Is there any berming requirements or?
Not on this rezoning. On this rezoning, it's just a C4. There will, since it's greater than an acre, any site greater than an acre will require a conditional use.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Let's go to 20.
20 is a first reading rezone, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 4609, 4701, 4705, and 4713 South Louise Avenue, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is City of Sioux Falls owned property along the west side of Louise Avenue, south of 53rd Street. These properties were sold to the City of Sioux Falls as part of the Louise Avenue widening. We have worked with the adjacent property owners to see what the most and best use is for the rezoning of it. The residential houses no longer exist on Louise Avenue, and office is probably the best appropriate use because it has really limited access to the adjacent street structures. We've posted the signs and we're requesting rezoning to office.
Questions? Bob Jameson.
There was discussion when the city bought that property about access to Louise. How will that be addressed for office?
Right now, it's still just like any other applicant. The property owners will need to come in and work through their access issues. Whoever acquires the property, if it's the property owner to the west, the north, south, they will have to work out their access issues.
Are we limiting access to Louise?
To Louise Avenue, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Let's go to 21.
Item 21 is a first reading rezone, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 520 South Valley View Road and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a 2.5 acre parcel on the west side of Sioux Falls, on just south of 12th Street. There's some adjacent property to the north that's already C2. It's I1 for the remaining parcels in the area. They would like to rezone their property to C2, and in the hopes of next month coming back with a conditional use permit to construct a retail center.
Questions? Let's go to 22.
Item 22 is a first reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment at Southwestern Avenue and West 85th Street, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised sub-area map and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is the Boulder Ridge Plan Development District. There's 3 sub-areas down there, A, B, and C, and this is sub-area B. It originally came in as RA1 multifamily. They have found that the market's more appropriate for office at this point. It's still an appropriate transition between single-family, commercial, and the higher traffic and volumes on the arterial streets. So they're changing some of their RA1 to office in this sub-area B.
Questions? Let's go to 23.
Item 23 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at East 26th Street and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The next three items are very similar. I'll take them independently, but they're all city-initiated rezonings where the City of Sioux Falls on an annual basis will go out and look at planned development districts that have basically been substantially built out and we rezone them to their conventional zoning districts. At that point, since they've already been built out, it's more feasible for the existing property owners to continue to live within the conventional zoning district to get additional building permits or tenant finishes if they need them. This first one's the Cherry Creek Plan Development District on 26th Street. There's already 6 buildings and 6 lots, including a convenience store, bagel shop, offices, and a restaurant. Since it's built out, we're taking it out of the Cherry Creek Plan Development District and we're rezoning it to C4 office and recreation.
Questions?
Yes. Jeff, who originally had the planned development district?
I do not know.
Okay. So the city has just made the decision just to change it? And,
Correct, to what it's
okay.
currently zoned.
Okay.
Bob Litz?
Jeff, were all these buildings that were built under there, were they built under conditional use permits?
No, they were in a planned development district, so they were built under final development plan.
Further questions?
So in the future, will planned developments, when they become full and completed, will be taking them apart?
Yes, we put them back in the conventional zoning district.
It just seems odd that my short time, I think we've seen a number of planned development items come through. This is the first time I've heard of it going the other way.
Yeah, it's once a year we kind of, city looks at when they've been built out, then we'll go back in there and basically look at them and say, let's rezone this to a conventional zoning district. What it really does, and it helps, and look at it from twofold, when a developer comes in with vacant ground, it gives everybody a much clearer picture on, look, this is not going to be a commercial district, it's going to be the Cherry Creek district, and there's recreation, there's office, there's commercial, and the buildings are all going to look like this, and they're going to be brick, and they're going to have these types of pitched roof. But once it gets built out, we know what's there, and if Cherry Creek Grill comes in and they say, I want to do a tenant finish on my property, building services, the engineers all go downstairs and they go, okay, now what zoning district are you in? Well, you're not C4, you're not office, you're not. Then they have to go through all the files and look to find out, okay, you're in the Cherry Creek district. Up front, it gives everybody the protection and understanding, especially those neighbors, to know what are you going to build here. In the long run, once it gets built, we need to get it back to, it's already built, we just need to know what the conventional zoning district are, what the rules are.
And you don't think there would be any expectations from those people that are within that development that those standards were going to be set forever?
No, what we have always found, and again, we post all the sites and we notice the public, what we have found is if there was an expectation with that, they're always in the codes, covenants, restrictions, but not with the planned development district.
And my last question was that one parcel was never in the planned development district?
Correct.
Then? Okay.
Yep.
Further questions, Kermit?
Yeah, Jeff, all of the land up there that's not developed, is that owned by the city? There's a little creek, I think.
That's in the planned development district, the creek is, and that is owned by the city.
Oh, okay, that's owned by the city.
Yep,
Okay,
and
thank
so we're rezoning that from the Cherry Creek
Mhm.
planned development district to the RC conventional zoning district.
Further questions? Not, let's go to 24.
Item 24 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at St. Francis Lane north of Spencer Boulevard and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
We're going to rezone the Crown Point Planned Development District to the RS1 residential district. There's 52 homes built on 58 lots. It's substantially built out, and the house is already existing.
Questions on item 24? Let's go to item 25.
Item 25 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at 26 and Southeastern Drive and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is the River Ridge Plan Development District. 9 office buildings were platted on 5 different lots. We're rezoning it to the O Office District.
Questions on item 25? Not, let's go to 26.
Item 26 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at East 3rd Street and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This property is in the northeast part of town. It's a small little parcel, less than an acre. They are rezoning it to what's adjacent to them. To the north, it's RD. To the south, it's RD. To the west, it's RD. And to the east, it's the public library and the RC Recreation Conservation District. They'd like to rezone their ag land to RD so they can build twin homes.
Questions? 26. Let's go to 27.
Item 27 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at North Bluebell Lane and North La Mesa Avenue and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
Up in the northwest part of town, they're rezoning property to single family. It's single family already to the south. This is the last remaining 10-acre parcel that hasn't been built upon yet. It's Skunk Creek to the west. To the north, it's the railroad tracks. And the applicant would like to build off the rest of his subdivision.
Questions on 27? Let's go to 28.
Item 28 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 69th Street between Southwestern Avenue and Minnesota Avenue and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
The applicant recently purchased this property, zoned it or annexed it into the City of Sioux Falls. In Lincoln County, it came in as ag, and they would like to rezone it to RS1 for a larger lot, single family on 69th and basically east of Western Avenue. All the other adjacent properties are single family residential.
Questions of Jeff on 28? 29.
Item 29 is a first reading and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment at 59th Street and Nevada Avenue, allowing changes in land use as reflected in the revised sub-area map and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is the 57th Street West Plan Development District. They need to do a major amendment to their sub-areas. When the applicant originally came in and laid out their development, one of the uses they did not list on their uses was a dance studio for cheerleading. It's an appropriate use in here, but they need to come in and actually list that use before they can construct it. So they would like to come back and construct a cheerleading center.
Questions on 29? 30.
Item 30 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West 95th Street and Regent Park Drive, and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is in the far south part of town. It's just east of Louise Avenue on 95th Street. Cinnamon Ridge is the development to the north, and this applicant that has Cinnamon Ridge is looking to expand to the south, add their detention pond, which they are going to rezone to the RC Recreation Conservation, and then put in the rest of their subdivision around that pond and continue Cinnamon Ridge 3rd.
Questions on item 30? 31.
Item 31 is a first reading rezone and ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rezoning property at West Maple Street and North Marion Road and amending the official zoning map of the City of Sioux Falls. Planning Commission recommends approval.
This one's a little bit more detailed. A lot of land up in the northwest part of town. The South Dakota Land Company is looking to rezone their property next to Southeast Tech and Regent University. It's 183 acres. They're going to rezone it to the South Dakota Land Company Technology Plan Development District for future development of industrial, commercial, office, and residential uses. They've looked to really try to be compatible with what's to the east of them, to the south of them, to the north of them, and to the west of them. Their plan development district has 5 different sub-area regulations up along this map to get it all on the picture. The north is to the left. Their commercial district is on the left-hand side, as Steve's kind of put the map or arrow there. To the top of your image is where Southeast Tech and Regent University is. They have more of their office and commercial development next to Southeast Tech. What they'd like to do is make that available and more compatible to that incubator business technology park as offices look to open up businesses so that those students can come in and start working and opening their own shops. That's what's going to be in that area. As you continue to the west, that continues to be that economic development business incubator area. And then as you go further to the south, they have some ground for commercial on the corner. And then the next section is a small parcel for a Vera McKinnon for a medical clinic, more health, medical industries, again, more associated with what's taking place up at Southeast Tech. In the middle of their subdivision, they have a roundabout as their two collectors come together, and they have a small campus commercial center there for campus convenience type uses. And then some RA1 apartment complexes that they would like to build out again to have housing for this area. And then as they complete their subdivision to the south, they'll have commercial on the corner and finish it out with some more office economic development land. Again, it's a very large development. They've had numerous neighborhood meetings out there and have worked this through the Planning Commission.
Questions of item 31?
Yeah, Jeff, I think this is the second time we've seen one of these roundabouts in recent weeks. Is the planning department strongly encouraging these developers to have the roundabout?
Strongly encouraging, no. They generally show up on the plans and we review them.
Okay.
Further questions, item 31? If not, is there a motion to approve items 18 through 31 for the second reading on September 5th?
So moved, Jamison.
Jamison moved. Is there a second?
Second, Litz.
Litz seconded. Motion been made and seconded to set the hearing date for September 5th for items 18 through 31. I see no further discussion. All in favor of that motion to approve, a vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Council members Benega.
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Jamison.
Yes.
Knutson.
Yes.
Litz.
Yes.
Staggers.
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 2 excused. Items 18 through 31 have been approved for September 5th. Item 32.
Item 32 is a preliminary subdivision plan, Gulbranson addition to the City of Sioux Falls, Minnehaha County between 60th Street North and I-90. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a 35-acre parcel up in the north central part of town, just south of I-90. Back in June, it was annexed in the City of Sioux Falls. In July, I believe you saw that it was rezoned into the City of Sioux Falls and had the zoning set. Now they're doing their preliminary subdivision plan. Preliminary subdivision plan really starts to lay out their lots, their block layout, how their street connectivity takes place, and how they put their infrastructure in for water, sewer, drainage. It does meet all the standards for engineering issues, and the applicant is proposing large tracts for light industrial and commercial uses.
Questions on item 32? Bob Litz.
Jeff, on the right-hand side of where the street frontage would be on 60th Street there, now that's the county cemetery in there, is that correct?
Correct.
Does the city have any, I don't know, you know, it seems to me, I know who's buried up there, and it just seems to me I'd like to have some trees or a berm or something there to sort of set that industrial look back from the cemetery if somebody would go to visit.
That is an interesting issue in that with a preliminary subdivision plan, we don't. Because the subdivision plan just lays out, here's the lots, here's the streets, and with the rezoning, we don't. We can't put conditions on zoning. They came in and they zoned it I-1, light industrial. If they would have came in as a planned development district, we could have said, your planned development district is I-1, however, along the east side next to the cemetery, we want a larger sub-area that has a buffer for 50-foot with berms. We can do that with a planned development district, which we can't do with straight conventional zoning. Straight conventional zoning, there are no conditions that we can place upon it. So can we? Yes, with planned development districts, but again, as Mr. Staggers likes to know, do we force and require that? No, we do not. If the applicant wants to come in and look at straight conventional zoning, we allow that to come forward.
I know there's very few visitors up there, but I just, and I know there's a tree line along the west edge of that. But I don't know, somehow the vision of somebody going to visit a grave up there and looking at the big metal backside of an industrial building
Right.
somehow is
Or
just
worse
concerning
yet,
to me.
outdoor storage. Hopefully, we could get a nicer building and some trees and what we could maybe still work with, I don't know. But hopefully, we could get some of the storage on the other side.
Very good.
Thank you.
Further questions on 32? Others who wish to address the council on item number 32? Is there council discussion or action on 32?
Move for approval, Benninger.
I
Benninger
second
moves.
that motion, Knutson.
Knutson seconds. Further discussion? I see no further discussion. All in favor of the motion to approve item 32, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Councilmembers Benega?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes, 2 excused. Item 32 has been approved. Item 33.
Item 33 is a resolution accepting the Phillips to the Falls Gateway Arch Panels Public Art Project to be known as the Falls Past and the Falls Today.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and Channel 16 viewing audience. My name is Russ Sorensen, representing the Planning Office and the Sioux Falls Visual Arts Commission. Along with me this evening is Vice Chairperson of the Visual Arts Commission, Stacy McMahon. And the Visual Arts Commission mission is to support and encourage development of visual art for our community, building spaces, through its role as an advisory body to the mayor and the city council and other government agencies. That's our mission. Relative to the background of this resolution before you this evening, since last summer, the Sioux Falls Visual Arts Commission has been working with several city departments, including Parks and Recreation and Public Works, Risk Management, and the Sioux Empire Arts Council regarding the Phillips to the Falls Gateway Arch Panel Project. This Gateway Arch Panel Project completes the city's capital improvements program project for the archway on Phillips Avenue to the Falls. The archway was designed to accommodate artistic panels on each column. The archway project funding has been identified in the city's capital improvements program. Relative to the timelines, early this year, the Visual Arts Committee subcommittee recommended to proceed. The call for art was sent out to 79 South Dakota artists. Proposals were due the first part of June, and we received 5 submittals. The jury panel was selected, and they reviewed the 5 submittals in July. In August of this year, the Visual Arts Commission reviewed the recommendation of the jury panel and made their recommendation. They unanimously accepted the jury panel's recommendation that Aberdeen, South Dakota artist Mr. Benjamin Victor produced 2 bronze relief panels, each measuring approximately 26 inches by 67 inches in size. Mr. Victor's proposed artworks are titled The Falls Past and The Falls Today. In terms of their description, they would be bronze relief panels. The vision for Mr. Victor's design of the Phillips to the Falls Gateway involves the Falls Past, which is, Steve, if you could provide that on the overhead, thank you. This vision is of a Native American woman who is standing close to a settler woman as each admire the beauty of each other's child. The tender moment is highlighted by the falls in the background as nature provides the perfect environment for that love of one another and the 2 mothers represent. The crashing falls contrast with silent communication between the 2 figures, which transcends all language and cultural barriers. In the Falls Today relief panel, a family stands in the foreground smiling as they enjoy the falls. The family highlights the subtle changes of the falls, not only with the appearance of the bridge in the background, but also a slightly different role that the falls play in everyday lives for those who enjoy them. Both designs place a strong emphasis on family. This metaphor of the strong family values and the loving family environment that really is the essence of Sioux Falls and South Dakota as a whole spells out the importance that family and children play in our great state. Both designs also expound upon the intimacy of the people of South Dakota and Sioux Falls that they embody. As far as the resolution that you have this evening, Mr. Benjamin Victor would be responsible for adhering to the project budget allowance and the completion timeframes, that being $17,000 for the budget, not to exceed that, and also the May 1st deadline of 2007. We would also affix the panels securely to their proper quartzite columns that have been erected, and they would become the property of the city of Sioux Falls. The exhibition of public art in the Central Business District is recommended and encouraged by the final report of the Downtown Arts Committee, the City of Sioux Falls Downtown 2015 Plan, and the Sioux Empire Arts Council Cultural Plan. The Visual Arts Commission, again, has conducted a jury panel review process, and they recommend their acceptance of the proposed 2 Phillips to the Falls Gateway Arch panels, to be known as the Falls Past and the Falls Today, and their placement approved by the City Council. And the placement is presented by Mr. Benjamin Victor and is recommended by the Sioux Falls Visual Arts Commission. Is proposed for you this evening by their recommendation for your consideration.
Questions of Russ?
Yes. Russ, will there only be one copy of the reliefs cast?
That is part of the contractual agreements that are going. Typically, the art becomes the property of the City of Sioux Falls. And this is a 2-dimensional art piece.
So just one copy then?
As far as I know.
And then we'll have the total rights to the casting as far as we can reproduce this, or, pictures or whatever we want to do with it?
That is contract language that is in process now with the artist. I don't know exactly how that reads at this time.
Okay, and then finally, the $17,000, where did that exactly come from? It came out of the...
That was part of the capital improvements program for the archway, for the Phillips Avenue to the Falls, and the West Falls Park projects.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't specifically mentioned, was it? I don't remember seeing
Not specifically.
Like,
that is
just
money that's
like
part
the
of the archway project.
Okay.
That was geared for this project because, as you know, that the art panels or the columns themselves have openings to accommodate artistic elements.
Further questions of Russ? Others that wish to address the council on item number 33? Council discussion or action on item 33?
Move for approval. Jamison.
Jamison moved. Is there a second?
Second, Benninga.
Benninga seconded. Further comments? No further comments. All in favor of approving item 33 will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Councilmembers Benninga?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All member present voted 6 yes, 2 excused. Item 33 has
Thank
been
you.
approved. Is there any further business to come before the council, or is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move, Knutson.
We move,
Go ahead. What?
I think we're going to move into executive session.
You got to make a motion to adjourn and move into executive
Okay.
session, but is there a motion to move to adjourn and move into executive session? Okay, is there a second? Second. What an executive session is?
Personnel.
We should state the reason for going into executive session.
The reason is for personnel? Okay, motion been made and seconded to go into executive session for personnel. And the motion been made and seconded. All in favor will vote yes. Those opposed vote no.
Councilmembers Benninga?
Yes.
Costello?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Litz?
Yes.
Staggers?
Yes.
All members present voted 6 yes. We are in executive. We'll go into executive session. Can you wait a few minutes?
I'm going to go make sure the doors are shut. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay.